The turning of a new year always feels like a performance review. How many goals did you achieve? How much did you grow? I feel like I'm in a constant state of growing up without ever feeling grown enough. Something I've seen recently as an alternative to resolutions is to begin as you mean to go on. So, this year, I began gently, slowly. It's difficult to conceptualize the next 40 or 50 years of my life. I often forget how I got from the past to the present. When I concentrate, I see that life is just repeating small actions again and again. The present is just this current moment again and again. It helps to think of time this way. Hi, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, welcome back. We've made it through the first week of 2024, so I wanted to take today to hold space for us, hold space for you, hold space for me, and talk about journaling prompts to revisit throughout the new year to maintain this connection with ourselves and also develop a better relationship with ourselves. If you're anything like me, then you only write in a journal when your life is falling apart, and I wanted to change that for 2024 and use journaling as a medium to create better connection with my inner self. I often forget that developing a relationship with myself takes time, devotion, and work, just like it does for any friendship or any partnership. So journaling is just one of those things where I am committing some time and space to hold myself, to release any negative feelings that I may have, so on and so forth. So that's today's video. And before we get into that, there are some new people on this channel, so I wanted to quickly say hello and reintroduce myself for those of you who have never seen my face or heard my voice. So, who am I? My name is Hunter. I am a native Hawaiian creative living in Honolulu, Hawaii. I was born on the Big Island, but now I live here. And I talk about life, I talk about reading, I talk about creativity on this channel, and I also show you what life is like in Honolulu from a local and native Hawaiian perspective. Something you'll find from a lot of local people is that we feel that our home, our native lands, are often over-romanticized by people who move here who have no connection or ties to this land. And I think it's important to elevate voices and perspectives of those who do have ancestral ties to this land. So that's kind of what this channel is about, and now we can get into the journal prompts. Upon reflecting on this new year, I realized that I often kick myself for not achieving all of the goals that I set out in the previous year. And I wanted to break that habit this year, so for the first week, I really just chilled. I didn't focus on hitting the ground running. I really focused on starting the year gently and slowly and holding space for myself to just recover from all of the holiday madness. So this past week, I took a long break with my partner. We binge watched some of Game of Thrones, and it was great. It was one of my favorite New Year's that I've ever had, and I highly recommend that if you haven't held space for yourself in this new year, to allow yourself to rest. With that said, the first journal prompt of 2024 that you can bring with you month over month is really to establish connection with your younger self and hold space for that version of you. I have my journal here in my lap. The first prompt is, imagine you are your younger self. Write a thank you letter to your current self. So I started doing this in the middle of last year, and I feel like it really helped to bring out parts of me that I often neglect. I think when we imagine our younger self, we imagine a very vulnerable version of ourselves. For me, I returned back to when I was 14 or 15, somewhere in my teenage years, because I feel like that's when I felt most deeply, that's when I felt most in tune with myself. And although in our teenage years, everything is so dramatic and so huge and big and everything feels like the end of the world, I kind of love to return to that version of me because it was my most emotionally raw self. And sometimes I miss that version of me. Sometimes I miss feeling so intensely. I like to return there because if I think of my teenage self and how she would feel about the person I am today, I think she would be really proud. And it's always helpful to think that way about your current self, to allow yourself to be thankful for how far you've come. I would thank myself for surviving through a lot of the more traumatic things that I have gone through in my younger life. I would thank myself for always holding space and never invalidating my feelings. I would be really proud of my career accomplishments and how many really cool cool jobs that I've held over the years. I would be so incredibly proud of the bravery that I have or that I feel for myself by being vulnerable online and trying to create a community. There was a line in the Barbie movie that made me cry, and it was, "Mothers stand still so when daughters look back, they can see how far they've come," or something along those lines. And I think it's important to do that for yourself as well, to take time and pause, to look backward and see how far you've grown, to kind of center yourself. In starting these journal prompts, start with writing a thank you letter to your current self from the perspective of your younger self. Now that we've held space for our younger self, the next prompt is to hold space for our future self and also to really intentionally imagine our idealized future. Something my mom taught me at a young age is that in order to really manifest your ideal self or your ideal life, you have to be extremely specific. So the next journal prompt goes, what do you want your ideal life to look like? Right as if it's already happening. For example, let's say that my ideal life involves me waking up early and going for an early morning walk. I would write something like, I love waking up early. I love going outside when the morning air is still crisp on my skin. I love seeing my neighbors walking their dogs at this time and the friendly smiles that they give me. I love the smell of the early morning rain as it sits on the leaves outside of my building. Things like that. I think the more specific you are in the sights, the sounds, the smells that you imagine in your head in your idealized life, the better. Let's say that your ideal life is in another city. Let's say you want to move to New York City, for example. You could talk about how you love the bodega on the corner of your street. You love the smell of the coffee shop as it wafts up to your window in the morning. You love the sounds of the people as they get up and the city becomes alive in the morning. Things like that. Although it sounds really poetic and a little woo-woo, I swear it really helps to just focus your mind on a very specific goal and focus your mind in a way that helps you imagine this future as if it's already been attained. Our brains, our minds have so much power, and I think the more you can imagine this future as if it's already happening, the more power you will give yourself to achieve it. The third journal prompt is really to hold space for our current selves. And I find that the most helpful way to hold space for myself in this present day is to allow myself an opportunity to release. So maybe you like to journal in the morning, and that release comes from you writing a stream of consciousness of all of the dreams that you've had throughout the night. Maybe you're like me and you like to write in the evening, and so I like to write a release of all of the negative self-talk that I've had throughout the day, a release of any anxiety I had throughout the day, a release of any stressful situations that I experienced throughout the day. More recently, what I've been working on is releasing and relinquishing control of the narrative that other people have of me. I think if you live with anxiety, which I do, it's hard to accept that you have no control over how other people perceive you or think about you. And it's a scary thing to feel like you have lost control of your narrative. But I think by releasing that control and understanding that there's no way that you can change it, it becomes very freeing. So that's something I've been working on with this specific prompt throughout last year and this year. So maybe you'll find it helpful too. The last journal prompt is a little bit more metrics based. So if you have set goals, overarching goals for 2024, this journal prompt is meant to just break up those larger goals into smaller monthly goals. So the journal prompt is, what is one thing you want to accomplish this month? So this can be written at any point in the month. Maybe it's, what is one thing you want to achieve this week if you're doing these journal prompts a little bit more frequently? Or what is one thing you want to accomplish today if you're doing these journal prompts daily? So for example, if I were to revisit this prompt monthly, one of my overarching goals for 2024 is to launch an online business. That's a huge goal. There's a lot of things that go into launching an online business. And so my goal for the month of January is to just write the copy for my website. And that's not to cap myself in what I want to accomplish this month as a whole, but if I only accomplish one thing for my overarching goal, that's what it's going to be. And maybe next month, now that I have my copy done, in the month of February, my goal will be, I will take all of my product pictures in the month of February. That way, I have broken down my overarching goal into smaller, more achievable goals. And I think it's also common for people to lose sight of their goal by the mid-year. So I know that happened to me last year. I had these huge overarching goals and I had no consistent way of revisiting what those goals were. So by using this journal prompt every month, every week, every day, it's just like small check-ins for yourself to not only hold yourself accountable, but just to also remind yourself of the steps you're taking toward that larger goal. I hope you find these journal prompts really helpful. I know they have helped me in the past and I plan to use them throughout 2024. I encourage you to take those journal prompts and change them as you see fit for your own life, for your own growth, for your own self-acceptance. If you have any journal prompts that you think our community here would find helpful, please drop them down in the comments below. I'm always looking for new ways to foster a better relationship with myself, so I'd love to hear any journal prompts that you guys use in your journaling practice. I've noticed that this past year, it felt like I was living on autopilot, like all of 2023 just kind of went by without me really holding space to reflect and decide if that life was actually serving me. So when I decided to go on this journey of being self-employed and being a business owner, I felt like I had a huge loss of identity because I had tied so much of myself to career achievements and to what other people's perception of me was. And so for the last quarter of 2023, I spent it really not being kind to myself. I spent it being really self-critical. I spent it comparing myself to my peers. I spent a lot of time stalking people on LinkedIn and feeling like I was falling behind. But this year, I really want to practice radical self-acceptance and to know that the version of myself that I am today is enough. I want to thank myself for being brave. It takes bravery to be vulnerable online. It takes bravery to try something new. It takes bravery to be bad at something. And this I am not great at yet. I'm committed to making my content as valuable to you as possible. And I think there's a lot of inspiration in that. And if you're a creative who is struggling with that same fear or that same self-criticalness, then I'd love to have you as part of this community. The reason I started this channel is because I'd always dreamed since I was really little of having an online community of people who really encouraged each other and held space for each other and made each other feel safe, especially in the process of creating. I think being a creative, you are going to be bad at things, but with social media, we're so used to posting only the good things. And I really want you to see every draft, every iteration that I make on this channel so that you can witness my growth and maybe that will inspire you to document your growth as well. I think there's a lot of power in being bad at something, being new at something, and still showing up anyway. I wanted to applaud you if you are also doing that in your own creative journey, as well as applaud myself. It's been about 9 months since I started this channel and we're almost at 100 subscribers, which is super exciting. But I remember when I first started this channel, I was really ashamed. I was really shy. I didn't want anyone that I knew to see it. And I think that fear really shows through in my content. So this year I'm stepping into an energy of being proud of my work and wanting as many people as possible to see it, because I think about the creators that I look up to and seeing their creative process and seeing them be really vulnerable online made me feel less alone. If that speaks to you at all, I would love to have you be part of this little community. We're almost at 100 subscribers, which is so exciting. I am excited to continue growing with you all in 2024. I have a good feeling about this year. I feel like it's going to be a good year for all of us. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bisous. Bye bye.